Well, hello out there, friends and neighbors and everyone in Radioland. Yeah, no, that's totally not how I talk. Welcome to the very first episode of the AudioRising podcast from AudioRising.com.
I hear a voice in my head going round. It's been talking to me for a while. Inject my soul with the truth. Do you dare? Oh my God, it's time for a prayer.
So for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to do the best I can to string together completely incoherent sentences and almost no thought at all that seems to make any sense. I'm just going to let it free flow, similar to how I do when I write in a journal form, or for those of you who know anything about recovery, in a inventory type form, and just see where it lands. And the good news is I can edit anytime I want. So whatever I say here doesn't necessarily mean you're hearing it, if that makes any sense. So anyway, it was about time that I took my idea, which is called AudioRising, and put some audio to it, strangely enough. For any of you who know me out there, I am Wes A1966 on Twitter, and AudioRising Facebook page is coming here pretty soon. But basically, the majority of what I've been doing is kind of sticking my toes in the water and learning about Twitter and learning about podcasting, learning about blogging. Not that I'm particularly good at any of it, but I have been just so blown away by some of the content. Actually, a lot of the hey, if I bother to read it, it's good content. But just a lot of the good content that's out there regarding two of my passionate subjects, which don't really have a choice in the matter, and that is mental health / anxiety or panic disorder issues, and substance abuse recovery, which more specifically to me would be alcoholism, anger, resentment, and all the things that we cover up when we're drinking or using whatever our drug of choice may be. So, the idea behind this was to kind of explain why I exist. The original idea was to interact with people who struggle with the same issues that I either do struggle with or have struggled with in the past. And there's a cross-pollination that I see that goes on all the time when it comes to substance abuse issues and mental health issues, as anybody who's listening to this probably already knows, but I hope to reach a few of you that don't. Substance abuse and mental health issues are very intertwined, and there's specific reasons for that. I am not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I don't even play one on the radio. I'm just a guy who feels a lot of passion toward making sure that people know that they're not alone. And the only basis behind this was when I was, let's say, 19, 20 years old. In that time frame, I had just become a husband and I was about to become a father. And over the next couple of years, my reason for existing became clear, or so I thought. And then over the next 5 years, there was really no reason to exist at all, at least for myself. There was, as far as existing for other people or for the benefit of other people or something like that, but I didn't really see any purpose for my life. What would I have wanted to see, hear, read, smell, taste, touch, whatever, back in the day when I first started having anxiety issues, when I first started drinking too much? To be quite honest, when I first started drinking too much, I was having way too much fun to pay any attention to the underlying issues or the anxiety problems or whatever. They call that self-medication. But bottom line is, if I could reach back in time and tell younger Wes what it was that he should know for the upcoming years / decades / relationships, what would I have wanted to be available? Part of this came about in recent years. My recovery sponsor loaned me a book a few years back, and one of the things I noticed while reading this didn't have anything to do with the material at all. The material was fantastic, and I completely related. It was called Adult Children of Alcoholics. The author's name escapes me at the moment, but it wasn't, even though the content was great, it wasn't the content that had me banging my head against the wall. It was the fact that it was written, the original publication was 1983, which would have been almost a full year before I graduated from high school, at a point when I was dealing with an abundance, anxiety, and panic-related issues, or obsessive-compulsive issues, and a couple of years before my drinking career got really going in high gear. And it pissed me off, I'll be honest. It pissed me off because I used to always say, what's wrong with me? I wish somebody could tell me what's wrong with me. Maybe there's nothing wrong with me. Maybe everybody feels this way and they just never talk about it, kind of a thing. And the bottom line was there was a correlation between anxiety, depression, and all the things that we run into in the I don't want to say mild, but I'm not schizophrenic, and I don't have real heavy OCD issues. I don't have real depressed episodes or issues. Post-traumatic stress, I always, even though from what I read I've exhibited some of those things, I hate to say that because in my mind PTSD is something much more serious than anything I've ever had to deal with. But I'll just use myself as an example. In my milder afflictions, there was already research out there. There was already things that said that the afflictions that I was suffering with can come directly from being a child of an alcoholic or an adult child of an alcoholic. These things do not go away. And that's not point of view. There's a lot of stuff out there that tells us that now. But there was a lot of stuff in the early to mid 80s that said basically the same thing. And it irritates me and makes me resentful that I didn't know about these things. So the original idea ended up being, what would you do if you had an interesting character study of someone who had actual talents and was just completely sidelined, anxiety issues, alcohol issues, whatever the case may be, and it's completely sidelined his purpose for being. And what if slowly but surely this character could discover that those things are not necessarily lost? Yes, there's a price to pay, but all things are redeemable. And I started thinking about that in terms of fiction. And I've always enjoyed writing fiction, but like most things in my life, and like most things in the character's life that I'm creating, you'll see that liking something and even being passionate about something doesn't always get us from the starting line to the finish line because of the fear of failure. And fear of failure and all the accompanying garbage that goes with that is something that I deal with. A lot of people deal with it, and it's extremely common. There are people that they're scared to death that they're going to fail at exercise, losing weight, or getting in shape, and so they don't ever try because they would rather not try than have to deal with that fear of failure. The same thing goes with sports. It goes with furthering your education or whatever the case may be. So I don't pretend to have all the answers. Basically what I'm doing is giving my point of view and some of the things that I've discovered that have helped me over the course of time. So anyway, with that being said, the whole idea of the AudioRising site was to be an audio blog, which so far until this moment it hasn't been. It was to be a launch point for an audio drama. I hate to say audio book because who knows what form this is going to take. The way I'm looking at it right now is probably about 20 to 25 episodes, about 10 to 15 minutes a piece, and each one is a chapter. And it's basically trying to walk 2 or 3 characters through a very critical point in their life, and a lot of that is surrounded with substance issues and self-doubt and self-fulfilling prophecy by saying we're not good enough. You will notice the rising and AudioRising would obviously give you some idea of coming back from the scrap heap, getting up off of the pile, some might refer to it as kind of the phoenix that burns up and then rejuvenates into something else. Okay. My particular rising is rising from the dead person I've always been into the living person that I am now. The cornerstone for me is the Bible, and it's something that's going to be investigated and looked at from my point of view in the story as we go along. But this is not a cleaned up version of an everyday story. I like to look at it like this. If you want to investigate what recovery looks like, or you want to take a peek at what mental health issues look like, or you want to take a peek at what the Bible says and what God really has in store for us, as opposed to what you read here or whatever else out there, this is a good vantage point to peek around the corner and look at what's going on. No one's going to make you do anything. But it's also similar to my walk. I had to be in a safe place, tucked away in a corner, in order to investigate some of the things that have literally saved my life. So, with that being said, I'm going to bow out after this first episode, but I am going to be back, and I don't know how many times I've started and stopped. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to go full tilt boogie toward the door and just break it down. And that's not a door that anybody's created for me except the one in my own head. So I'll be back soon.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Now, for people you should be following. If you're dealing with anxiety issues, you need to check out @TheWorryGames on Twitter. This will, of course, lead you to the worrygames.com website. The first thing you should notice quickly is that we all suffer from similar issues. The things that you think make you weird, more weird than the rest of us, you're going to find out pretty fast just how normal you are. On the recovery front, you need to be listening to and reading the posts of the Sobriety Collective. I cannot say how much inspiration I've drawn from this site. Laura over there is awesome. When you follow @WeAreSober on Twitter, you'll see the link to the sobrietycollective.com, and you'll also see a Twitter link @BadStoryPod. Following one is good. Following both is much better. This is not just recovery from substance issues, but she is also a mental health warrior. So it's the best of two challenging worlds. Seriously. Your heart just changes when you hear these people. And while you're at it, follow Jeff over @Beyond_ADHD, both on Twitter and YouTube. That's @Beyond_ADHD. Follow @TeamNotAshamed. Follow @blogging_sober, as well as Jen, my buddy Jen, @I'm Ms. MS Mystique. You can see all these people if you follow my Twitter feed. They're not that hard to find. I mention them because this is sobriety and mental health interaction at its best, at least as far as I've seen. And at least one of those ones that I just mentioned is a professional voice talent. I'll let you figure out which one. Trust me when I say this is not an all-inclusive list of people that I love to follow, but it's a start, and I'll be mentioning them and many others more in depth as the AudioRising podcast gets going. Opening music by Motley Crue, the song Confessions from the album Generation Swine. Background music by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. All podcasts and episodes of The Wrong Armor are recorded on Audacity. This is a production of AudioRising.com 2016.
The sun will rise